Hey everybody, for your next challenge, your next line challenge, I'd like you to think about letters in terms of lines. Letters have short parts and long parts. They have medium parts too. You can experiment with letters in terms of bold lettering or italics lettering or bubble lettering. So there's a lot of things that you can do with line and letters. So I'm going to show you a couple examples, and then I'd like you to give it a try yourself. And remember, share your work to either Seesaw, Google Classroom, or Instagram. All right. So one option for you is to think of a word. The word could be something that's important to you, something that you love, something that you like to do. It could be a family member's name. So many different options. Once you come up with the word, then go about collecting objects that you could use to make the letters. And as you're collecting these things, as you're collecting these lines, think about whether they are short, medium, or long. Like my paintbrush right there is kind of short. My tongs for the eye is kind of a medium line. My belt is definitely a long line. And then also think about, are they skinny? Are they thin? Are they medium? Are they thick lines as you're putting your word together? Once your word is put together, take a photograph of it, and then I challenge you to take the word apart and create a different word with those same materials. So that's what I did here. I actually created, Zamo first, and then I did not need all of the pieces to make the word line. So you don't see like the wooden spoon and the straws in the word line if you were to go back. But I did try it a couple times to come up with two words that were relevant or important to me as an artist and an art teacher. So this is the first challenge. If you choose to do it, put those images together, take photographs of them, and then make sure you send them to me through either Seesaw, Google Classroom, or Instagram or Facebook. The second option is to create a piece of art inspired by English artist Hamish Fulton. And he considers himself a walking artist. And he goes on these walks and he documents, he creates his artwork through photographs, illustrations, and word works, text on walls. And this is an example of Hamish using text, really kind of like poems, short poems, to add another layer of meaning to the photograph for the viewer. And when he does these pieces, he's using different types of lettering lines in order to make the text have different feelings, to add different levels. So there is a thin, small, black lettering font up at the top, small white lettering in the middle, and then it's a little bolder down at the bottom in white. And each of those kind of reads differently to us. So here's another piece that Hamish did. And again, you can see how the impact of the bold letters is different than the impact of the small, thin letters. So I'm going to challenge you to create a text and image with this next challenge. Find a photograph or a drawing in your camera roll, or go outside and take a picture, or do a drawing of a landscape that you love, and then think about a few words that can add another layer of meaning to the piece. So for one of my examples, I decided to do a drawing of Joshua Tree National Park because me and my family love it, or I really love it. So I started with a simple line drawing, added color to it using dark and light to convey a little bit of 3D space, and finished up the drawing in crayon, going from dark in the front to light in the back there. So I filled the whole page. I used crayon. You can use any kind of materials that you have available to you. So then I thought about incorporating a couple words to it. So I chose Otherworld because growing up on the East Coast, I never experienced anything like Joshua Tree National Park before. So it's a very otherworldly place for me. And I decided I wanted to make the word other a little smaller, world a little bigger. You could see how world is a little bolder too. And finally, I added I'm at peace because when I go to Joshua Tree and I climb around and I'm out in the open air, it makes me feel really calm. And notice I changed to lowercase letters because I wanted the impact to be a little smaller. I wanted other world to stand out. Now, this piece is a combination of drawing and handwriting and using an app called Adobe Spark Post. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in just a second. But I took a photograph of my drawing, and then using this app, I added text on top of it. Like if your handwriting is a little shaky or you don't like to add it on top of the piece, this could give you a little bit more flexibility because if you mess up, you make a mistake, you just hit undo or delete and you take your letters away and you can build them again. But I stuck with the same format. I wanted other to be a little smaller, world to be the word that stands out the most because it's a little bigger, it's a little bolder. And then my lowercase letters at the bottom, I chose a thin font and lowercase letters to make them sit further back in the read of the drawing. So here's a quick run through of the Adobe Spark Post app I was talking about, where you select a photograph and then you can add any kind of text on top of it. You can change the color, you can change the font, you can change the size. There's so much that you can do with it without disturbing the image underneath. So here's a finished example, one based on a photograph that I took on a hike over Thanksgiving. Where we were not expecting snow on this 10-mile hike, but indeed we did have it. So I came up with full lungs because we were on a very long hike and wrong shoes to add a little humor to it. But I did finish the hike. Here's another one that I did based on a photograph from up in the Laguna Mountains. We recently did a hike with my family. So it was very quiet. We were taking deep breaths on the hike, and we were far away from anyone else. And I chose the white and the light greens because I felt like it was peaceful and it went very well with the greens in the photograph. I also wanted to emphasize a way, so I chose a bold line font. And then just one more for you. Here's one that I did. I went out and I took a photograph of our garden in the backyard, and we have these magenta flowers that are just starting to bloom. And I've been waiting for days for these to finally go off, and now they're getting ready to. This was the first bloom, and now there's many more. So I chose magenta, and the flower is already magenta, so I wanted that word to be a matching color. I didn't want it to stand out. Waiting for days because I was waiting and waiting for them to bloom. And lifts me up because they make me feel really happy, especially right now. And there you have it. 2 challenges for you that use lines as letters. So whichever challenge you decide to do, please make sure you share it through Seesaw, Google Classroom, or on Instagram and Facebook at Shine Bright Zamorano. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Laura Lee Chambers for inspiring the Found Object Letter Project, and Arlene Shelton for introducing me to the work of Hamish Fulton and the work of her high school students. Thank you very much. Good luck, everybody.